basically, For Investors by Investors was put together by Jeremy, right here. Jeremy, raise your hand. I'm going to put you on the spot. So, and another investor by the name of Ellis San Jose, and I became a partner later on. And it's put together by them because they were tired of going to networking events and getting a sales pitch every time, and really not being able to rely on the speakers because they have an ulterior motive involved, and they're not getting valid education, and they don't want to be buying boot camps and books and tapes and all that kind of stuff. They just want a place they can go network and learn. And so they put together For Investors by Investors, where the whole entire point of the group is there's no sales pitch allowed. So all you're going to get here is education. You're going to be able to network with investors. Feel free to do to ask questions. In this particular one, this actual meeting in Long Beach, we typically have a presenter come up each month. Some of the other ones are a little bit different. We have about 14 chapters in Southern California right now, I think. And basically they're all different. So we have some that are roundtable discussions, smaller groups, some like Reggie's over there in San Diego, that's a huge event, and Joe's in Orange County, that they have a ton of people coming and really educate people quite a bit. What I do is I basically invest full-time in Memphis, Tennessee. I purchased a little over 175 properties now out on that market in the last 6 years, and we're buying about 5 a month. I do syndications, I invest in notes, I help other investors invest, and I actually help investors with their tax structures and legal structures as well to make sure that they should be investing and what kind of structures they should be investing in. A lot of investors come out and they really want to get started in real estate, but really when it comes down to investing, they should be looking at their own financial situation first, their own budget, their own goals and reserves and things like that. All should be in place before you start investing, and so I try to educate my investors on that type of knowledge base.
I'm Mike Foley. This is Allan, Evil Knievel Hamilton here. You can ask him about his leg later on. We've been friends for a long time. We've been investing together, I don't know, at least 15 years. So between the two of us, over 35 years of experience in real estate. My background before that was city government. I was a developer for a long period of time, and now I'm not developing anymore. It's a whole other story. Back to fixing and flipping, buying some notes, and doing some hard money loans. I'm a licensed contractor and a licensed broker in California.
Yeah, I'm a local Long Beach investor too. My family, we own a lot of multi-units, about $4 million worth of apartments down here in Long Beach. We're just starting to pick up apartments, condos, and starting to get there, so we're getting excited. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And I'm actually part-time. I work for a mutual fund company. A real big one called American Funds, so I do a lot of research for them as well. So, yeah, that's about it.
Good. Allan and I are both big believers in learning about economics, business cycles, but also paying attention to what's going on in the world out there today, especially in very uncertain economic times like we're in right now. And we encourage all of you to learn about economics, to pay attention to what's going on. It's very important to make good, prudent business decisions these days. In order to encourage that, we got some giveaways. We got some books to give away, so we'll be asking some questions throughout the presentation, and whoever gets them right gets a book.
So nobody fall asleep, Ron.
The ones that get it wrong should get it.
That's right. All right, let's get started.
So economics, what's in it for me? Some people told me they think economics is boring. I think it's the most fascinating thing I've ever come across. It's about money, right? So money's a good thing. You can't buy your happiness, but you can get towards financial freedom. And once you have financial freedom, you can do whatever you want. And one of the best things is we're not competing against each other, we're just competing with ourselves. You remember back in the good old days in 2005 when subprime money was flowing like wine, a rising tide lifts all boats, a receding tide drops all boats. And you could pay back in the good old days, the party days, you could pay 95 cents on the dollar and Mike would slap some paint on the door, he wouldn't even change the plants and make 50 grand, So yeah, no wonder people are so reminiscent of those days. That was great, wasn't it? But, those days will come again, but, it would be nice to have an idea of how long these cycles take and take appropriate action. So, economic principles affect every single market that human beings are involved in. So that includes equity markets, it includes bond markets, precious metal markets, baseball cards, precious art, and real estate. As long as you've got buyers and sellers, you've got psychology involved and you've got economic principles. So just want to congratulate everybody coming out tonight. This is a wise decision, and FIBI rocks. Thank you, Jeremy. Putting it together.
So economics, what can it do for you? Studied economics can help you find the real estate bottom. I don't care what anybody tells you. Timing is the most important thing in real estate, much more important than location.
My real estate agent said it's location, location, location.
Trust me, it's timing.
Oh, okay. All right.
I could have bought the worst property in the worst neighborhood in 1997, sold it in 2005, and made a bundle.
That's true.
And if it was a house in Beverly Hills in 2005, you sold it this year, you didn't make any money. Study of economics, it can also help improve your financial risk management skills. That's absolutely critical these days. It's all about return of capital, not just your return on capital. So you need to be very risk averse these days. Study of economics can help you become a better, well-rounded investor. So you can invest in not only real estate, stocks, bonds, commodities. You can have a well-balanced portfolio. Study of economics can help you make more logical investment decisions instead of just hoping for the best or listening to some guy's stock tip on CNBC. You can actually have, smart decisions based on what you've learned. You don't have to be using the force.
There's a picture of Mike. Just go back for 1 second. Looking for the bottom on the top corner there in his college days. Yeah. So economics and real estate, is there a connection? Yeah, there is. Like we were saying before, real estate is just, it's another market, involves buyers and sellers. So what moves markets is not mathematics or physics, it's human beings. And we call these things different things. We call them, psychology, confidence, sentiment, optimism and pessimism. Greed and fear is another name for these things. There's a book here that I would highly recommend called Animal Spirits by Robert Shiller. Very, very good housing economist from Harvard. And the name of the book is How Human Psychology Drives the Economy and Why It Matters to Global Capitalism. So that's something to keep in mind. And so right now you see there's a map of the world right there, and there's trade going all around the world. We got a lot of trade coming from Shanghai into Long Beach right here, and the number one trading partner of China is Europe. And so, what happens in Europe is going to affect China, and China is the number one purchaser of U.S. Treasury bonds. It was till very recently. Now the Federal Reserve's taken over, but everything in the global economy is interconnected. So if you were to have a sovereign debt default, which means if you have a country that decides it's not in their best interest to make payments anymore, that will reverberate around the whole world. There may be some countries out there that you may not even heard of that are having some difficulty that are thinking about this. There's countries like Hungary, Belgium, France is in a lot of economic trouble. So it's not just Greece and Spain and Italy and Ireland and Iceland. There's some other countries that are having some terrible troubles where their debt load is too high. Now, if that happens, when that happens, should I say, that's going to reverberate around the world. And real estate itself is very, very sensitive to consumer confidence. It's very sensitive to employment prospects. The very first question when a normal person buys a house is my job safe? Well, that's a financial question, but it's more psychological than financial. And if you get out of school and you can't get a job, you go, well, maybe I need to move back with my mom and dad, right? That's psychological too. So that's how it happens. That's how what happens in Greece can affect what happens in Garden Grove. The whole world's interconnected.
This is a scary slide. This is a quote. This is Timothy Geithner. This is our Treasury Secretary. And he's basically saying this can happen again. It will come again. There will be another storm, but it's not going to come for a while. This is a guy who's paid basically to lie to us and say everything's great, we got it all under control. But he's basically admitting that there is trouble down the road. So when I see something like this, it makes me very, very nervous.
Michael, when did he say that?
2009.
He actually said it. Put your hand up if you saw the movie Too Big to Fail on HBO. Okay, there was a premiere for the movie in New York. And he showed up at the premiere, and somebody's playing him in the movie. And so the press got a hold of him after the premiere, and they said, what do you think of the movie? He's like, oh, it's great. It'll happen again. And the press was like, what? What do you mean it'll happen again? He goes, oh, it'll happen again, And so that's where it was. So if you haven't seen the movie Too Big to Fail, it's pretty decent movie. And what does Timothy Geithner know that the public doesn't know? Why would he make such a statement? Well, this is one of the things that Timothy Geithner knows. This is derivatives. A derivative is a financial bet. And the word derivative means it derives its value from something else. At the time of the financial meltdown, derivatives was $600 trillion, which was how much times the global economy? It was 40 times? 10 times. 10 times. So at the time of the financial meltdown, it was 10 times the size of the financial economy because everybody's betting, well, Greece is going to go down, Greece is going to go up. So these are all bets. Now, right now as we speak, the derivatives are closing in on $800 trillion. So that's $200 trillion more than there was at the time of the financial meltdown. Now, the same is true of the too big to fail banks. At the time of the financial meltdown, their balance sheets were worth $6 trillion. Anybody know how much they're worth today? $9 trillion. So right now as we speak, even though most people think everything's hunky-dory and everything's fine, the too big to fail banks are 50% bigger than they were during the crisis. Here's some economic principles we wanted to share with you. This first one's really funny. This is a very famous economic principle people argue about. Debts that cannot be repaid will not be repaid. And that's really interesting. What that's trying to get across is, even though like Greece, right? Greece has not gone bankrupt. But at a certain point, they have too much debt, they will. And there's been thousands of years of history of countries not paying their debts. And just to remember that, these markets are controlled by human beings. They're not controlled by mathematics or black boxes. There's a book called The Black Swan by Nassim Taleb. It's a pretty famous book. And he shows that all these black boxes that Wall Street use, at some point, the mathematics of them break down. You cannot model human behavior perfectly with equations because we don't work on equations. We work with crowd psychology. So how the market does work is there's a natural boom-bust cycle. When things start going good, people jump on the bandwagon. Remember real estate in 2005. Real estate never goes down. They're not making any more land. People are jumping on the bandwagon. It goes way up. That's called a bubble. The bubble bursts. It breaks down. And then we get a bust. And there's the principle in economics called the reversion to the mean. So as they go up, goes through the mean, comes down and crashes. It doesn't stop at the mean. It goes below the mean, bottoms out and comes up. So even though events like the bankruptcy of Greece is a certainty, 100% certainty, the actual day that it happens, pretty hard to tell because they can just keep feeding it money and they'll lose that money, of course, too, just like giving a credit card holic more money. They're going to lose that, too.
So on the right side of this slide, you've got a chart showing the classic bubble, the life of a bubble, basically. You've got the takeoff, you've got little sell-off, you've got the media getting on board, people get enthusiastic about it. There's a greed factor, it starts getting delusional. The shoe shine guys giving you stock tips. At the very top, everyone's saying this time it's different, it's a new economy, everything's going to be just fine. Then things start to tip over and there's a lot of denial. At some point there might be a little bump up, everybody's feeling good, things are all better, back to normal. And then the real drop off occurs, and we think we're somewhere in that drop off, and you can see at the very bottom there is where you have that overcorrection.